everybody, and welcome back to the Favorite Humans podcast.
Hello, hello.
And we are back. It is Super Bowl Sunday.
Woo!
We got a lot of stuff to talk about according to that, but before we start, we want to take a quick second to remember those who are lost in the crash last week.
Yes, and anybody who's experiencing a tragedy, we just want to be your hype men and women and just say that we're here for you to listen to our silliness and maybe give you some positivity along the way. We're thinking of you and we are praying for you.
So with that, hard times come throughout life as we know it. And we wanted to talk about today how we push through those types of situations.
Yeah. We talk about just focusing on the topic of why it's important to push yourself, why it's hard to push ourselves, and,
why we don't.
And why we don't. The
What holds
reasons
us
we
back.
don't. But, I think the most important of why it's good to push ourselves.
Absolutely. There's a lot of darkness in this world, and we just want to bring some light to the situation.
Light. All of the light.
There's a couple of things that I wanted to touch on just in my particular situation that kind of I pushed myself to do, and hopefully you guys can relate to that, and then we'll get into more. So I've set some goals for myself in the past month or two, and the one that really I'm focusing on now is my fitness goal. My sister is an instructor and has been for years, and so we wanted to talk about how she looks at fitness differently than I do.
5, 6, 7, 8.
We were all cheerleaders at one point in our lives.
And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4,
and we're
5, and 6, 7, 8.
moving on. So I actually did a week trial at a couple different gyms, and just to see which one was for me, and I went through 1 and 2, and they weren't really for me, and then I found this local one that was for me because it was a little bit more at my pace, and what holds me back about fitness the most is that I'm not comfortable with it, and I was never athletic. I never really did anything that would force me to, work out or do, anything actively, I guess. I was a show kid.
I think your interests were just more socially.
Yeah, so I didn't really have a base for that, so when I would start to work out in college, yes, that's when I started working out, but barely. I was really intimidated by it. So I had to kind of set these goals to put me on the right track.
Yeah. And, how did you set the goal? What was the, what set your fire? What fueled the fire?
I always look at, I have a lot of friends that work out and are very, adamant about working out, and they look great. So obviously, if I don't really work out, you have to focus on what you eat and stuff like that. I would just start to feel a little bit lost in my body. I just didn't like the way that I looked. I wasn't terrible, and I never hated the way I looked.
You probably weren't feeling your best,
yeah.
Right? Your energy wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Take how you look aside. You probably just weren't feeling like your best self.
Well, yes, I was getting there. So, I want something to, wake up to and yearn to do. People wake up to go to the gym at 5:15, and I'm sure that you've been there in your life. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm sure I will. But something to wake up and be excited to do. Oh, our dog.
Rosie's here again, and she jumped
off the bed. So, yeah,
bye, Rose.
See you later. Coming from a place where fitness is, intimidating, now I'm kind of coming into my skin a little bit where I can find it and enjoy it, and that I'm not scared to kind of make that jump.
Yeah. So what are the things you did to set the fuel of your goals? You wrote them down in your planner you had talked about earlier.
I have a couple of different things. I kind of just swallowed my pride a little bit and put myself out there and went and tried a couple different gyms, and some were more intense than others. One I really liked, and it just didn't work out because of financial reasons. So I made it a goal in January to try a couple gyms and pick which one I liked. I wasn't just going to settle for a gym just because it was a gym.
And you probably had to actually push yourself to go, because I know that you went to all of them by yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you literally probably thought about ditching an hour before, the day before, but you got through that period of time by just
I committed,
not letting up.
Yeah.
And said no, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna show up. And I'm sure everybody's seen these types of quotes all over the place, but showing up is literally 90% of the battle.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that you figure out what's going to fuel your push to get you through that section of where you overanalyze it or you are getting ready to, dip out or quit or not commit. How can you really push through that? And sometimes you just have to do it and not think too much about it.
Well, being an instructor, like what's different about your approach to fitness? Like, I know that just because you're an instructor, it doesn't mean like, oh, I got to get up 6:45 and I'm right to the gym.
I don't feel like going at all.
Yeah.
I think that just, teaching somewhere, you kind of, at least for me, I've always made the places I teach like a home. I make sure that I kind of start some relationships there. Like the other instructors, sure, but a lot of the members, the front desk people. So like when I walk in, I don't feel like a stranger in the place. People recognize me, even, not everybody obviously, but people are kind of counting on seeing me.
Yeah.
And I think if you like train in like a small group or you train in a class or you train with a trainer, if you are accountable to someone, you're going to show up. That 90% that to get you to show up is going to happen if someone's expecting to see you, whether it's the front desk lady who you don't even do the workout with, but, she might say to you like, oh, where were you? I haven't seen you all week.
People get motivated by you just being there. Yeah,
and you are just accountable to showing up when you teach somewhere for obvious reasons. You have to be there. But I really like to make some place kind of my home when I get to
That's really important. Instructor. Well, what about, like, what's your advice to people that come to a class and they're like, I don't know if I feel it or not. Like, how do you surface that? How do you, what would you tell them?
I truly, truly believe from in my core that you will know by trying things 3 times whether you like them or not.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty decisive person and I usually know after 1 time of things, but I try to push myself to try things 3 times. And specifically we're talking about classes here. I think the first time when you walk into a class or a gym, you have no idea what to expect. You have this intimidation factor. You don't have any friends or home feel for that yet.
It's
just a place where you don't feel comfortable, and that is enough to scare you away.
Yeah.
Also, like, maybe the instructor was not having the best day, whatever. Just the first time you go isn't the experience you're going to have every time.
Yeah.
The second time, you feel a little bit more comfortable, but you still probably had to really, motivate yourself to get up and go because you haven't formed the habit yet of that time frame or that instructor, the people who are in the class.
Or the type of class.
Or even just getting to where your gym is and your route. And then by the third time, it's the habit starting to create itself. You either know if you feel comfortable or if you don't feel comfortable. You know if you don't like who's teaching it or you do. And
then you think it's safe to make that decision.
And I think that's time. By the time, you can reroute if you need to, or you can get ready to commit. So.
Yeah. It's so funny because I know you're an instructor, but we don't really talk about things like this. You give me a lot of good advice when it comes to gyms and going. I do? When it goes.
I'm not that smart though.
But you have experience in it, and you have experience in both realms, being in a class and teaching a class. Rosie just jumped on the bed again.
You guys hear any background noise? It's just Rosie's nails.
We got new microphones.
Oh yeah, we did. Ta-da!
They're really cool.
Hopefully you guys can hear us. A test, 1, 2, 3.
Well, by now it's like 9 minutes
I know, but I just thought, I don't know.
That was a good testing.
Anyway, back to pushing yourself. Why do we like to, cop out of pushing ourselves? Like, why would we rather just not do the push sometimes?
I have sort of like an idea to put in to answer your question. I think oftentimes people look for things to change and
about themselves
or about their lives and are not doing anything to change that, but then are so I've been in this situation and I've talked to people about this situation. They're so focused on waiting for something to change that they will not make that move to change something, and then they're just sitting there miserably like something's going to fall into their lap, which it does sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think that's something, it's just about that push that we're talking about.
It's
like
your
you need to make moves in order to like or dislike something. You won't know until you try, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think a really good example is us starting this plant-based sort of diet.
Oh, yeah.
And
we don't truly follow all the time, but most of the time we do.
Yeah, so I we started you started more than a month ago.
But we also started for different reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started in the probably November.
Yeah. And I just started 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, right away you get the cravings, because we grew up on meat, like a lot of other people. Some people don't. And that's just something that we're used to. So I wouldn't even eat it that much. But it's just a steak dinner
or
once a
just
week.
A chicken Caesar salad.
Chicken Caesar salad, things that you don't think about.
Buff chick dip.
Yeah.
Or, there's just so many awesome foods that revolve around meat.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for one, had to... I was choosing it because I have a lot of osteo problems, or I shouldn't say problems, but chronic pain in my joints. And I've tried a lot of supplements, and some have helped and some haven't. And I really just thought that if I jacked up my plant-based
protein,
and just plant-based intake fuel of my body, that maybe my body would feel different, and it has. And whether or not, again, if that's mental or not, I don't really care, because I feel good either way. And
you said that you saw it on a documentary of athletes, right? Mm-hmm. That's how it kind of got introduced to you. So and then my sister tried it, so then I in turn tried it. And
hop on the wagon.
And it's not really for the conservation of animals, my personal choice. Although that is good. Mm-hmm. I loved meat before, like I said, we grew up eating it. But it was kind of just to see if I felt any change, or making a little change in my life might have made something different, made me look at things differently. Yeah. So I still eat fish now, but I might even go off of that in a little bit. It's just taking that little step. I haven't even looked or broken this plant-based, besides seafood, in weeks. I haven't thought about it. I've been around it. It doesn't gross me out or anything. I can be around it. I can pick the meat off a salad. It's not like that. I'm not strict, but it's not, it's part of my routine now.
Yeah. Because you stuck with the beginning where the true push happens.
Yeah.
And this goes across anything. We're not just talking about diets or working out. We're talking about making a change in your life that you feel needs to happen. Maybe you keep trying to avoid it or suppress it in your mind or in your gut. But if it keeps coming up in your mind or your gut,
that something needs to change.
Something needs to be done about that. So whether it's just figuring out a different career path, or figuring out a different hobby that you really want to if, maybe you have a hobby that's not so healthy and you want to be more healthy about what your hobbies are, or, different groups of people, or just anything. Maybe you want to just learn something brand new. Yeah. Same concept applies.
And you won't know.
To get through the push
until you try
stage, or to get to the habit forming stage where you no longer have to think about actually going there or doing that or calling this person or hang out with these people or whatever it may be. You have to push through the harder beginning stage.
Yeah. And I would never believe, I have friends that are completely vegan and vegetarian, talking about this again, that I was you're crazy. But now I do it, and I don't think twice about it. So it really is just trying to get yourself into a habit form. And if you try it for 2 weeks or whatever time it is, and you don't like it, you can go back. It's not a permanent, change, anything like that. You can want a new look. You can cut your hair. You can change the way you dress. Mm-hmm. Anything that would motivate you to feel better about yourself and feel better about doing what you want to do.
Yeah, and to just feel your path that you're building for yourself is just that. No one else is going to build it for you, even if you have, lots of generous and supportive people in your life.
Yeah.
You have the reins, and sometimes I know it doesn't feel like we do.
No.
But just a reminder that you do, and you are able to take them back and re-steer where you want to be. So that's our little push talk today.
Yeah, try something. Our challenge to you is to try something in the next week, or do something for yourself that's different, that challenges you, and that might not be comfortable, but something that you think that you need to happen. And it could be small, it could be large. Just don't hurt yourself.
Don't hurt yourself.
We are here to motivate you, and we want
if you
you
need
to
some
be the best you.
motivation,